Well, another loss for the Browns, a bigger loss on the field player-wise. We'll have a lot of fantasy football playoff talk to come as well. Waiver wire pickup, some best bets, and the general of the 100 Years War will join me in just a moment. Let's get to the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. The sickest Cleveland Browns podcast.
Chubb runs, he's to the 10, 15, he's to the 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. There goes Chubb, he's to the 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Shabba-lubba hub.
It's gonna be sick.
Hello, everybody. Well, the Browns 3-11. How about it? Right? Yeah, not great. Not great. We knew it. I was just so disappointed after that game. Not that the result really mattered with that record, but just how it all collapsed. The turnovers. It's just a feeling of hopelessness. We'll get more into that. Fantasy football, like I said, there's some injuries too. How about David Montgomery out indefinitely? How's that hitting your fantasy football playoff team? I'll have some solutions for you. Hopefully we'll dive into that in a little bit and get to some best bets as well. But let's get to the Stadium Mustard hotline. And Stadium Mustard, folks, as you know, from ballparks to backyards and everywhere in between, Stadium Mustard, a smooth but spicy mustard, rich in taste and tradition. Stadium Mustard, real and organic, not manufactured. You can get it in Cleveland Brown Stadium. You can get it in Ohio, across America, in Canada. I love it. And it's not just for hot dogs and hamburgers. Tremendous on that. Your deli sandwiches. Yeah, I tried it. If you haven't tried it with pork chops, I can't have enough with it with pork chops. Sensational. Stadium Mustard, Bill and the guys, great team there based out of Ohio. So make sure you support Stadium Mustard. And let's bring in the Stadium Mustard hotline. It is the general of the 100 Years War from ESPN Cleveland. Friend of show, Tony Grossi, joins us. Tony, how are you, sir?
Good, Andy. Thanks for having me.
Oh, great to have you on. And boy, Tony, I said it off the top there. It's the feeling of hopelessness with this team. You add on the Nick Chubb broken foot that's just heartbreaking after all he's done to come back. And unlike the past where it was like, okay, we're accumulating draft picks, there was at least, okay, maybe they draft somebody good. But like, Tony, can you talk to the Browns fans? Do you have any beacon of hope that we can cling to right now?
Well, at least they have a number one draft pick this year. Right. And they've added a few more. So they could start the rebuilding process. But it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of right decisions to turn this thing around because of the consequences of the Deshaun Watson contract, and the trade in itself is going to linger with them for a while.
Yeah, it is. It seems so just crushing, that contract, that term hanging over us. And we saw the report earlier that they'll be bringing him back likely to training camp to compete, which, Tony, I wasn't surprised that he isn't going to show up because he's there and you're paying him. But at quarterback, like, what is the thinking to let that sort of out into the media? Is it to get people prepared that they are actually going to trot out Deshaun Watson, if healthy, in Cleveland again?
Well, until I hear them say that, I'm not putting 100% credence into any anonymous report.
Right.
There'll be a time for Andrew Berry and for the Haslams to speak on this. I think their actions will say more than their words. And before, right now they could keep saying, our number one goal is to see Deshaun Watson get healthy.
Right.
However, by the time he gets healthy, they will probably acquire two other quarterbacks, a veteran in free agency and perhaps one in the draft. And then, when we get to the Haslam's, only off-season speaking opportunity at the owners' meetings, we'll have a better idea, and they'll have a better idea of where Watson stands in the organization. But right now, I would say anything is possible.
Right. Well, you're right, and it's so early, and that's the problem. We have to keep thinking and clinging to the hope of the future because there's nothing right now. Right? It's 3-11. It's you're just going out the clock.
Listen, it seems bleak right now. Not only the record, but the prospects of the future with all these constraints and all.
Yeah.
But they're smart people. They're going to have to figure out the best way out of this. And the draft is the absolute way to go. And they have to start making some smarter choices in draft picks.
Right.
We've seen teams turn it around when things look absolutely bleak. Denver is the latest example. Minnesota, we were at camp the day the Vikings announced that J.J. McCarthy would be out for the year. They were at our practice. I watched Kevin O'Connell make that announcement. He was almost in tears. And look what happened. They got Sam Darnold going, and they're going strong this year. So I know things don't feel right. They don't feel good, but it's up to the Browns to figure it out and get it done. They have a unique situation, though. Let's face it. This is not Minnesota. This is not Denver. This is not unlike anything anyone's come across before. But they're going to have to figure it out. I would just suggest, it'll might be a little more encouraging as the offseason rolls around than right now.
Right. Depending on those moves, depending on those quarterback moves, specifically Jane Daniels to Washington, pretty average roster. You get the right quarterback in, and that's the problem. They have to get the right quarterback. Can they do that? And Tony, we said about them being smart people. Will they be the same smart people in charge if this thing like 3-11? Okay, and Jimmy Haslam can say he's going to be patient, and that's cool. But boy, when you look at it, 3-14, I know he's trying to be more patient, but that is ugly compared to the expectations.
It sure is, and there aren't many coaches who come back from a 3-14 or 3-13. It used to be season. Haslam did it with Hugh Jackson after he went 0-16, brought him back to 1-15, and then brought him back for the third year, and
Hugh,
that didn't turn out so well. So even the statements by Jimmy Haslam at the recent NFL meetings near Dallas last week, where he said, we do believe they're the right people to turn it around. But, the more important statement was, we're going to evaluate everything after the season. Right. Let's see where we're at in 3 more games. I wouldn't, again, on that subject, I wouldn't rule anything out. They could bring everyone back. They could blow it up. They could be selective and change certain offices in their hierarchy. So they're going to have to. We can't make those decisions for them. We have to wait for the season. Yeah, I've tried that for 40 years. That's not.
Yeah. Oh, Tony, don't worry though. They have their processes, right? We're fine. Yeah. Not results. The process. What drives me crazy, Tony, and I feel sometimes like I'm taking crazy pills hearing this, and you don't know what to do as a fan, is you have the processes, not the results. What?
Yeah.
The process is creating these terrible results.
I'm totally with you. I remember one of the first times Paul DePodesta sat in the interview room after their first season in charge. And I think it was, it might've been the year, the 0-16 year when they no, it was after that because they weren't in charge. And anyway, it was a terrible year. The quarterback, Cody Kessler, was the quarterback.
And they did on this one. Yeah.
So, anyway, I asked them directly after the year, do you feel you need to change the process by which you evaluate quarterbacks? Mm-hmm. And said, no, that's fine. That's not the problem. So I would hope that by now, 10 years on the job, they would admit, their failings in evaluating. Here in this latest regime, Andy, they've had one quarterback they've drafted, and that's Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and they haven't developed him worth a lick yet. Today I asked the head coach, isn't it time to get him some work? It's not the first time I've asked him that question. Mm-hmm. And he was very non-committal because he has to meet with the GM to decide where they go this week. But what kind of confidence does that inspire that this regime in 5 years has drafted only one DTR and they can't even get him on the field?
Right.
And they've gone through 10 quarterbacks over these 5 years. It's not as if they've had Patrick Mahomes in front of them. So
Right.
So, I mean, I don't want to create a bleaker picture than you did at the very beginning, but those are the things swirling around my mind. What kind of confidence can you have in them making the right decisions at quarterback?
Boy, it's rough because you've outlined before as well that thank goodness Hugh Jackson and Greg Williams stomped on the table to take Myles Garrett in that 2017 draft. Otherwise, it would have been Mitch Trubisky. And so that goes back to the quarterback evaluation, the Cody Kessler, the having a quarterback room where none of them had a win in the NFL. To Baker Mayfield came in with Dorsey. Think what you want about him. He had the most success out of any of these guys. Yeah. And then it's just been hodgepodge from here. And Dorian Thompson-Robinson, a fun, sounds like a good guy, but ultimately the kind of small, thin, zippy quarterback that it just doesn't seem that can handle the rigors of the NFL.
Well, you're right. I'm not even sure he could make it 3 games in a row, but
worth a shot.
Time to find out.
Yes.
To decide where he stands in the quarterback totem pole going into the offseason. So I do expect DTR to start in Cincinnati, and we'll see. We may even see Bailey Zappi before the season's over.
It's one of those years where we're into the multiple quarterbacks, the Baileys, and again, if he gets hurt, why not? Is this, do you feel, that last game against KC, all the interceptions? We love the entertaining Jameis, and what a character, what a guy. Has he written his way out of town for being a comeback to this team?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's only played 7 games. He's 2-5, and imagine, naming him the quarterback for the entire year. You would hit 30 interceptions over 17 games.
Yes.
I don't think the coaching staff can stomach that. I do think Jameis had a chance to audition himself, in free agency. And at one point, I thought he was going to be too good and too expensive for the Browns to bring back. And now it might be the opposite. He's not good enough to bring back.
Sure.
So we'll see. That's his problem. But I would think we'd have a new veteran quarterback, a transition quarterback, bridge quarterback, and hopefully one in the draft, although I'm not high on this draft, that's for sure.
Well, and I believe Drew Aller has said he's going back to school, which is disappointing from the sense that was sort of somebody I was honing in on of, okay, big guy. I know we like the big quarterbacks. God forbid you have a guy over 6 feet to throw the football with the Cleveland Browns. Impossible. But big, had some talent, some raw, and now he's back to school, which makes this quarterback class even thinner. And so, Tony, when we look at that, I think we could easily see the Browns either trading back wherever they end up or taking a position player and taking a 2nd or 3rd round QB where everyone's just like, okay, and it's another DTR maybe. And, you kind of see what pans out from that. But it's not anything of hope. Like you're hoping you find the Brock Purdy, but really you're probably going to end up with another Colt McCoy or DTR or whatever.
It's like a needle in a haystack. That's not much to go on.
No.
I thought Drew Aller, his last game, the Big Ten Conference Championship, he's got the best arm out there. But I was thinking him as a fallback maybe in the 2nd round for the Browns. But as you pointed out, that's not going to happen. He's going back to Penn State. Probably a good decision by him. Right. So I don't know what they're going to do in the draft right now. But it seems to me they should do whatever they can to get a quarterback on a rookie contract who's someone better than DTR,
right?
And start the process of the transition from Watson to the next guy.
You're feeling trade down though, aren't you, Tony?
Well, yeah, probably for we know Andrew likes to do that. One, we know that they need extra picks, even more than they've acquired because they've been so bereft of young talent. They need an influx of young quality players. And it's just the kind of draft that, there's not the guy waiting for him, the quarterback. Although I don't know who'd be interested if the Browns end up drafting, let's say, number 5. If the 2 quarterbacks, Shadir Sanders and Cam Ward, are gone, what's the attraction for anyone to move up to 5?
That's true.
So they might be stymied there if they are at 5, and I would think they'd take the best defensive player there if they stay there. but
try to get a pass rush. Yeah, right. Yeah. And there's going to be risers and fall. There could even be a surprise QB, a Josh Allen, Carson Wentz guy who comes out of nowhere late that, seems to be somebody on a rise every year.
I think we'd be hearing footsteps of him coming on, but I don't see that.
We'll say at the combine, someone will throw the ball the length of the field, and then they'll be freaking out, right?
Yeah, it's possible.
Boy, Tony, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for all you do, keeping us focused on hopefully the positive future and just kind of running out the clock on this season. Just final thoughts on the rest of this year for Browns fan. Is there anything like I'm trying to find? Okay, is there a young player to watch? Like I was Cedric Tillman. He's out with the concussion. Any word on him? Is he going to be coming back? Like Jerome Ford, I liked how he was moving. Any
Tillman might be available for this game. The coach wouldn't commit to that just yet, but he's hopeful of that. I'd like to see how many yards Jerry Jeudy could end up with at this point. I mean, he could be close to 1,500, which would be a fantastic year for him. I want to see DTR.
Jamari Thrash? I don't know.
He looked good in training camp, but I don't know what's going on with him right now. So, I mean, if guys like Elijah Moore, you don't think he'll be back, start substituting, start getting those guys in there.
Yeah.
But they play Cincinnati and Baltimore, two of these next three games, and it's always a lift to be able to defeat your division rival. And so, let's just work through these three games, and then the fun will begin after that.
Yes, then we can focus on the future, a spot us Browns fans have been many, many times. Tony, we tell people where they can find you. You're all over the place, ESPN Cleveland, TLOD, all that good stuff.
Yeah, thelineondemand.com is our subscription service. We just ended a big cyber sale.
Yep.
But I'm sure anybody who took advantage of that is loving it. That's where all my writing is, behind our paywall, and all our interviews, all our shows, listen on demand, and podcasts. So it's really a good app, and I know you're a subscriber. Appreciate that.
I re-upped on the cyber sale.
Very good. So that's and of course I'm on pretty much every day on 850 ESPN Cleveland at 10, and I'll be jumping on at 4:30 here in a little bit. So just everybody keep in tune. It's going to be an interesting offseason as usual.
Yep. And of course on YouTube, lots of great action there. The Neely Grossi on YouTube as well, I believe, right?
Exactly. Yeah. We're building a little bit of a following on our YouTube shows. The whole station has a channel at ESPN Cleveland at YouTube. So and that of course is free. So you can see us there.
Excellent. Well, Tony, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time. Appreciate it. Happy holidays.
Yeah. Same to you, Andy. Thanks for having me. Take care, man.
There he goes. Tony Grossi, the general of the 100 Years War. Get him on X as well, at Tony Grossi. Like you said, the Land on Demand, TLOD. I've been a day one subscriber. Got my dad on it as well. It is the spot for Cleveland Browns material every day. Absolutely love it. Interesting stuff from Tony Grossi there. I thought that was the non-committal early to DTR. Is that just Stefanski being Stefanski? You can't go back to Jameis. Come on. Right? Come on. Gotta be DTR. You give him a look. I'm feeling, can he stay healthy? It would be interesting to see, because quite honestly, and Tony said it, where they haven't developed him at all. More often than not, they've just thrown him to the Wolves randomly, either into a game because of an injury or poor play, or like the Deshaun Watson game a couple years ago, Baltimore. It's like, hey, buddy, we start playing in a half hour. Can you jump in? And he gets smoked. It'd be nice to see, to test this out. Can he stay healthy for multiple games? DTR. And what does he look like when he's actually gets all the reps as a starter to plan? Then at least you'll be able to think you might know. Can he be the bridge? I don't think so. Can he be a backup to the veteran bridge? Maybe. Hopefully you draft a quarterback. You have a little battle there. He's got to be in the conversation, but we're going to see how much of that conversation happens with him. So that's going to be a tough one. We'll have more live Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern, where we'll tee up Browns, Bengals, of course, take you through the parlay party. Early NFL Thursday night pick, guys, that I liked, that jumped out to me. for our sick picks with the DraftKings. Denver Broncos into the Chargers. This interdivision game with Los Angeles, as banged up as they are, they're 3-point favorites right now. I think there's some money to be made. Now, you could take Denver to cover that money line minus 105. I say the way they're playing with Bo Nix, I'd rather just take them straight up to win. Give me money line plus 138 on the Broncos on the road. Again, division game. It's good. A nice battle. Sean Payton versus Harbaugh. But Bo Nix and a healthy, roaring Denver Broncos team at plus money. I'm liking that. So that's going to be the sick pick right now that we're going to be banging for this Thursday night. Denver Broncos at the Chargers. Going to have the fantasy football, some start sits. We're going to review the injury situation. What do you need for your fantasy football playoff run, the continuation? We'll get to that in just a moment. But remember, you can score big with the DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code 6sports. That's code 6sports for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on the DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
And we're back. Yes. Okay. We're talking fantasy football now, kids. All right. It's business time. We had the Browns fun. Now we have to plan for your fantasy football playoffs. These could also work for DFS if you're out and you're playing your DraftKings daily fantasy. But I said enough with the Browns, except for my money, the top ad when it comes to running backs on the waiver wire for fantasy football, and that is Jerome Ford. Not just because Nick Chubb is out, unfortunately, with that broken foot, but because Jerome Ford, if you've been keeping track over the last few weeks, this guy has looked explosive with minimal work. He's looked slippery. He's looked decisive. I could argue, I think, the most I've seen in his career. Jerome Ford, 43% rostered, okay? 43% rostered, and this guy's going to get lead back duties. Now, with the Browns and their offense is constructed, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson is officially going to be the starting quarterback on Sunday. What do those opportunities look like? Anyone's guess, right? But Ford can also catch, so especially in PPR, there's the advantage. So Jerome Ford is going to be the number one ad. By the way, I know I got the question, is DTR a fantasy play this week? No. Don't do that to yourself. Second, Kendre Miller from the Saints. This is a guy it feels like we've been waiting years for, who's barely got any sort of opportunity because of his own injuries and because Alvin Kamara has been absolute money. But looks like Kamara is going to miss at least this upcoming week with a groin injury, and those can linger. So Kendre Miller is 16% rostered only. Big back and fast, right? He's about 6 feet, 220, second year, just needs an opportunity. And there are some good matchups that they have coming up, right? So I think with Kendre Miller, this is a real opportunity where maybe the touchdown upside isn't going to be there, but with Kamara out, yeah, he can catch, he can run, he should be able to get you some good RB2 numbers, right? Should be able to get you some good RB2 numbers. And he's rostered far less. So if you can't get Jerome Ford, Kendre Miller after that. I know Tajay Spears, I've been getting some questions on, should I be picking him up? Looks like Tony Pollard's going to be battling through. So Spears, we're going to check out. Don't bother. No fab, nothing on Spears. Let's go to the wide receivers now. Very quietly. This is somebody I picked up in the rookie draft in one of my dynasty leagues, who I haven't put in my lineup really at desperation a couple times, but someone who's been coming on lately. Jalen McMillan for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker's loving this guy. He's moved up to the number 2. And the question was, of course, when Evans came back, how was the ball going to be distributed? Because Cade Otton, remember, was benefiting big time, that their tight end, from that in Tampa Bay. Well, now it's been Jalen McMillan. And we've seen this guy. One, Baker's chucking the ball all over the field, 4th in passing yards. You know, you want to play Baker Mayfield in your fantasy football, you're probably going to be okay. But you look at McMillan, just 15% rostered, 4 catches, 49 yards, and 2 touchdowns in week 14. We can't depend on the touchdowns, right? But it's at least good that Baker went to him. 5 catches, 75 yards, and another touchdown in week 15. So we're seeing end zone looks. We're seeing opportunities on the scoring side. And now we're seeing increase in volume a bit with the yardage. So we're getting catch. The receptions are rising. The yardage is rising. And we're getting some touchdowns. So this is an opportunity. Next 2 matchups, Cowboys and Panthers. And they still have something to play for too, don't forget, right? Because the Falcons won. So Buccaneers need to keep winning to make sure they put away that division. So Jalen McMillan, if you're in wide receiver trouble or flex, you could do worse than him, and he's widely available, 15%. Sincere McCormick, mentioned him the other week. Ankle, he's done, right? It's over for him. So you're looking at Alexander Madison, Amir Abdullah. Yeah, Madison's probably gone. Abdullah, Madison's the star. I wouldn't get too excited about playing Abdullah with Madison back. Now, Abdullah on his own, like we saw earlier in the year, was good. But now we're in the full, we're kind of in the full schmaz there. And let's see. And you know what? This is desperation. I'm not going to do it. But if you're in whatever quarterback hell and you need it, Cooper Rush has at least 17 fantasy points in 3 of his past 5 starts. I don't like it either. I don't want to do that. I'm not. But I'm just giving you the information if you're desperate. And Mac Jones as well was putting up big numbers to Brian Thomas Jr. Holy. Dude was lighting it up. But am I going to ever trust Mac Jones? Even if they are playing the Raiders without Max Crosby? Again, real tough ass. But if you're in a desperate situation, those are 2 quarterbacks to at least consider, mull over, see what else you have. Most likely 2 QB situations. Okay, as a QB2, there's some potential. Okay, if you're in trouble or don't like let's say, for example, actually one of my leagues, heck, I'm thinking live here, I got Geno Smith. What the heck's his status going to be? Right? Where Geno Smith, Sam Howell had to come in. Oh my gosh, I might have to start in my playoffs, Mac Jones or Cooper Rush. No. Oh. Yeah, that could be my future. That just jumped in my mind. I'm going to have to scour the waiver wire in that league and see what I'm going to do. But those are some options there. Of course, if you have any other fantasy football options, this is crunch time. This is money time, business time. So you hit me up. Hashtag Ask Andy on X at SickPodBrowns at AndyMC81. Use hashtag Ask Andy. Instagram too. Actually, going to do a mini Ask Andy. There was a good Instagram question that came in. Let me see here. Hashtag Ask Andy at AndyMC Sports. This one came. What's the guy's name? From Bystrom_15. Would you do Rodgers or Tua this week? Tua against the 49ers, Rodgers against the Rams. Both QBs are at home. In that case, I'm going to say you're going with a bounce back for Tua. I don't trust Aaron Rodgers. Tua had a dud, but this is a chance for them to come back, right? This is a chance. Tua had been performing well over the last few weeks. Could be a stinker. Out of the 2, I would be going with Tua. So that's one question in. We'll cover a bunch of the other ones that are coming in, going to be coming in pre-waiver wire, post-waiver wire throughout the week, and get you ready live Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Okay? Big fantasy football show. Parlay party. We're going to be making some NFL bets if we win some money. And, of course, be teeing up Browns-Bengals and kind of seeing what is happening in Cleveland throughout the rest of the week. So thank you so much to the great Tony Grossi from ESPN Cleveland for stopping in, trying to give us some hope. There's not much of it about the Cleveland Browns. So thanks to Tony Grossi, to producer Shane, to all of you. I'm Andy McNamara, and as always, go Browns!
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.